Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1481 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Monday. It is, in fact, Memorial Day, and today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. If you're a first-time user, get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That is PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. And I also want to tell you at the top of the podcast, make sure first listen each and every day. Check us out and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And today, I'll be joined by Ben Pfeifer, NBA draft expert. I've talked to Ben several times on this podcast over the years, and we go deep. In fact, this is going to be not necessarily a part one, but we'll have more with Ben later on this week. But today's episode is going to be focused on second-round picks, sort of sleepers and options for the Hawks at number 46 overall. Kind of a wide spectrum as far as the entire class on the whole as well. But some deep dive stuff here, and then later this week, we'll talk about the top of the lottery, Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, the Thompson twins, etc. And then also we'll get into some candidates for the Hawks at 15 overall, because of course that is the meat and potatoes when it comes to Atlanta's draft this year. Before I dive into this conversation with Ben Pfeifer, some plugs at the top of the show. I'll be talking to Glenn Willis of Peachtree Hoops, ATL 129, extensively in the last couple of weeks on our player capsule series. We'll have more on that in the future as well. But we've already talked about Saddiq Bey and AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson, Bogdan Bogdanovic. It's been a lot of fun to talk to Glenn. I had Howard Beck on the show last week as well, and plenty to get to. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend or two or three. Even in the offseason, we've been very, very busy, and it's all systems go on the way to the draft, because we're only about 3.5 weeks now from the NBA draft. It's getting close, and lots to talk about in Hawksland. All right, without further delay, though, I'll be back in a second with my friend Ben Pfeifer. But first, the intro, and I'll be back with myself and Ben talking about the NBA draft.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm joined this year. I don't know how many years this is in a row, but Ben Pfeifer is here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Brad. I think this is 5. Well, because we definitely did. I feel like 2019 was the first time we did. We've done it every year since, I think.
That sounds right to me. You are gracious enough to come back and talk about the draft.
There must be some reason.
Yeah, we have fun. It's an informative conversation. I follow your content all the time. I know you're busy. I think you just graduated college. Is that true? Is that true?
I'm actually not very busy at the moment.
Well, yeah, at the moment you're not. But you were.
But yeah,
you were busy.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and to go behind the curtain a little bit, we're recording this right after an absolutely insane Game 6 Celtics Heat performance. So we're a little bit flying high. This is not going to run immediately, but people just should know the headspace that we're in after watching the end of that game. It was absolute craziness, and it's also very late for me on the East Coast. So
beaming after that, holy, I'm still animated. But
basketball, there you go. Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll just kind of talk about all kinds of stuff on this conversation. But I do want to start before we get weird and lean into sleepers and stuff like that. I'll ask you about the class in general. We'll save the Vic talk for later. I'm sure we'll get to that. But what do you think of this class? I mean, it's interesting. I'm already hearing the doomsday proclamations about next year's class. I was going to mention that. We won't have to go into that. People are already terrified about how bad it's going to be. But people seem to like this class. Are you on board with this group, generally speaking?
Oh, I love this draft class. I feel like I'm the highest on this draft class because I love I think there's aside from the top being super strong, I think there's more than 14 lottery quality talents based on the average number of good guys in any draft. I really like almost all of the first round depth. I think this draft is phenomenal. I think there's some weaknesses that this class has. There aren't a ton of high feel guys, mainly being the main weakness, I would say. But no, this class is so sick, and I don't have insane knowledge about the 2024 class, but yeah, it seems not that great.
Me either. It's too early for that. I was listening
Ron
to
Holland. Ron Holland is my goat and future number.
There you go. I was listening. I think it was Sam Vecini and Mark Schindler. I'm pretty sure it was this week. I was listening to them, and Mark brought up something about 2024, and Sam started laughing Like he was like, "Oh no, like, everyone's terrified of the 24 class."
I
So
don't know if it's gonna be that bad. I don't
maybe
feel
not.
like it.
But
I don't feel like it feels like more dire than 2020 felt pre college.
and
Because that
2020
felt
was the
bad
one
in
we
pre-college.
taled about for months and months and months and months and months
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
of
Right. Even
nothing else
before
to
we
talk
knew that
about.
would be the case, like people,
Yeah,
it was already kind of viewed as a weaker draft. So
it was. I always wanted to start there, and we'll talk about the top guys later, and then I think at the end we'll talk more about the Hawks' 15 pick options because with what you just said, it feels like they're going to have some pretty good options in the middle of the first round. But I
I
want to
think
flip it
they're
on
in
you.
an amazing spot. Really.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I promise. And I will just one caveat. May 31st is the withdrawal deadline for guys that want to go back to college, and there are a few that could go back in terms of second rounders. So I'm saying that now. We're recording this before then, so if something changes in the next couple of days, you'll know why. But the Hawks do pick 46th, not the sexiest pick in the world, but they have one. They might use it. There's this new second round exception, so teams can sign these guys for longer,
3
easier.
two-ways too.
And 3 2-ways. So like
3
it would
two-ways.
be I've argued forever the Hawks should use their second round picks more often than they have. They've sold them a few times, etc. But I
Look
think
at the
this is
Heat,
it's a real pick. Like it's a real pick that could be useful for a team, especially that has some salary cap issues, leisure tax issues for the future. I mean, I honestly want to ask about the combine. Did you watch a lot of combine?
I watched all of the combine scrimmages. Yeah.
Okay, good, because most of the guys that actually play in the scrimmages are more in the 46 mold than they are the 15 mold. So,
Yes, absolutely.
tell me what you saw with the combine. Anybody impress you that jumped off the screen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the best prospect there for sure to me is Brandon Pachemski, who is like certainly not going to be there for the Hawks at 46. Like,
doesn't seem like it. He might have been
I mean,
before the combine, it seems. But
I was gonna say he's someone who like I could like who like if they took it pick 15, I think I could rationalize that. More than like that. Yeah.
All right.
I don't have him that high, but I get it.
It seemed like him and Omax Prosper were the ones that were like everyone was talking about being maybe first rounders now after the
right.
combine,
Pachemski, so. Yeah. I mean, like I feel like I guess before we talk about this, I feel like I am valuing like the combine scrimmages like more and more as like an evaluation tool. Like obviously like it's 2 games, but like I think compared to like a lot of 2-game samples across a prospect's career, it's a really valuable one. I think the only thing to really look at is just like if someone's really impressive because they're hitting a bunch of shots.
Right.
I wouldn't really put much stock into that, but like guys like Pachemski, who you can just like tell are on a totally different plane than everyone else, just like look head and shoulders above, or just like absolutely dominating, are able to like work within like kind of like structureless place with teammates you've never played with before generally, like, and you don't have like a scheme or a coach to hide your weaknesses. So I think it matters. And I think the guys who like J-Dub last year was ridiculous at the combine and obviously ended up way overperforming his slot. So, but yeah, Pachemski was the best guy there. Omax, I feel like I liked him. He was like a recent guy. Like, I didn't know anything about him, but I started watching him recently, and I definitely am a fan of his. I don't think I like buy the first round hype just because I still think the offense is really limited, and like even like at the combine, a lot of it was him just like kind of athletically overpowering guys, which was nice to see, but like still is like kind of similar to like shot making, and that's like less translatable to the NBA and other things. But like as like his on-ball defense is really ridiculous. He is going to be a good second round wing get for someone. I'm a fan of him. Who else is good at the combine? Ben Shepherd was really good.
He was on my list to ask you about because I am a weird college basketball nerd, and I liked him a lot at Belmont, but I wasn't sure if it was like NBA like or just like a guy. And he seems to be on the radar more now. I like him.
I also liked him at Belmont because we are depraved people, but but I'm happy that's like his. I think the main thing I'm happy with is just that his skills like translated exactly to that setting. Like versatile shot making and like burst are the things that are like really impressive for him. Like, like over 10 threes per 100 this year. Like really, really quick, as well as we saw him like attack closeouts and like beat guys off the catch. Obviously he was playing like probably like a more like lower usage role that he would normally at Belmont. But I really like Ben Shepherd. I think as like a creation, like a secondary creation shooting bet wing with like who seems to be like a pretty competent defender, or like definitely has the potential to be like I'm getting very in on Ben Shepherd. Like I had him as like I've thought of him as like a late second, like priority undrafted guy for quite a while, just because I always enjoyed him at Belmont. But now I'm definitely thinking like I could see him like in the 40s or some team taking him that. Like he's quite good.
Yeah, I know you almost intentionally, you can correct me, almost intentionally don't want to know what people have ranked and do mainstream things. At least I've noticed that about you. I think you did a mock this week. You were like, I had no idea where everybody was. But I noticed that Shepherd jumped into the top four, in the top 40 for ESPN, for instance. And I was like, oh
wow.
Top 40. Interesting.
I like that. I feel pretty out of touch with consensus, like both draft Twitter consensus and just like mainstream consensus. I've kind of been like busy and doing my own thing this year, which I like. It's different.
It can be good to not have. I mean, I don't have. I just kind of inevitably know, and I'm sure I'm influenced by mainstream stuff. Just I still try to watch as much as I can, but it's not like my main thing. I try to watch more than most people do, but it's. I will certainly admit it inevitably creeps into my evaluations when I know where guys are supposed to be and where they are.
Right. It's good to know.
I'm kind of jealous of you, honestly, just to be as fresh as you are with regard to that.
Like I definitely have some people I talk draft with, but like I feel like my opinion is less influenced than ever, which is kind of correlating with it being like weirder than ever.
And that's fine. I think it's probably
I enjoy it. I think
it's probably a good thing.
It was like the 2021 draft where I just like watched highlights of everyone and was like, all right, I'm done.
And now I'm going to fire on some takes. Today's show is brought to you by the award-winning app at PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made easy. It's amazing, and I know you will love it as well as I do. It's very easy to use, and they have safe and fast withdrawals at PrizePicks every day during the NBA playoffs as well. One user at PrizePicks will win a chance at becoming a millionaire. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Time will be randomly selected each and every day. Whoever places the entry will actually get a 6-pick flex with the following payouts. If you get all 6 correct, it's $1 million. 5 out of 6, $80,000. 4 out of 6, $60,000, and full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. You must opt in at that link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Once you opt in, all you have to do is actually play the game like normal, and you could be the lucky winner. Download the PrizePicks app right now, or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. If you're a first-time user as well, get 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget that promo code. It is locked on, and sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. Check it out now with PrizePicks. And one more time, the URL is prizepicks.com/million. I have some guys like down to ask you, and some of these players like at 46 especially, and this doesn't have to only be about 46 in the Hawks, but it's really hard to tell you who's going to be available and who's not. I mean, it's kind of I think obviously that, but just for listeners, like 15 is going to be hard, honestly, to figure out who's going to be available at 15 even, but 46 is like impossible. Like we have to cast a very wide net. Yeah.
Like way less predictable.
And with like we said at the very top of this, with the 3 2-ways and the 2-way and the second round exceptions, and like there might even be a shifting paradigm of like what gets prioritized. We don't really know what's going to happen in front of the Hawks there. We don't know if the Hawks are going to make the pick, all those things. So, I mean, I'm looking basically as far as like who could possibly get there, as anybody that is not a definite first rounder could get to 46. We've seen weirder things in the past.
Yeah.
My favorite example of this in the recent past is the Anthony Melton getting to what I think he got to 47.
46,
he was he was a consensus top 25 guy.
I was going to say Isaiah Joe too.
I mean it does happen where like one or two guys fall.
Like not as good as Melton, like same kind of vibe.
Yeah, so it does happen. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody that I have as a top 30 guy gets to 46. We don't know who that guy's going to be.
I am 100% sure that people I have as like top 25 or whatever are going to like be second rounders. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you. I mean, without again, I know you're not like diving into the kids. Like, do you have someone who you're pretty confident is not going to go in the first round that you really like? Like, who are you super high on? That's not a lottery pick, but like, who do you like a lot in terms of this second round range?
I will tell you in a sec, but this guy I really like, but not for this. I just wanted to talk about him like finishing off the combine. Dylan Jones, Weber State dude. I love him. I had no idea who he was before I watched G League Elite Camp. He was sick there, and he was honestly pretty great at the combine. Just like a 6'6", like absolute tank. Like insane free throw rate guy, like really quick, just like one of the most functionally strong dudes you'll see at the college level, with like, quite good passing as well and competent defense. Like the shot isn't really there, which is kind of the main thing, but like God, I love like a funky mid-major creator bet. Like, and he's like Mason Jones if you swapped like shot making for passing as their other like good enough skill.
Okay.
Except like probably not. Except he's like it's like this is like my like KOC comp of the day. He's like a less skilled he's like a less skilled Mason Jones that isn't the worst athlete on the planet. Like, which I think is better than Mason Jones was. But
yeah, I mean, I thought you were gonna go since it was KOC. I was like less skilled Michael Jordan. No, yeah, no. I honestly have nothing on Dylan Jones, so I will defer to you entirely. But
yeah, I just wanted
I've seen him.
Okay,
on
now you ask
things.
People in the like second round range that I think are
who are you high on? Like obviously you kind of if
right.
you aim too high that's fine, but like who's your guy or two in the second round that you like?
I'm pulling up ESPN's like best available as I do this to reference, but I mean Podziemski for sure, but like he's probably falling. He's probably like not going to be in that range anymore.
Yeah, I think he's going to go based on what I've read so far in the top 35, probably. Maybe
it seems that way. So
yeah.
The main ones are I think Turk Smith is one who I see like I don't really see in the first round, and I would certainly take him in like the top 20. He's one of my like.
I was gonna say, what do you like about him? Because he's a guy that I thought probably should have came out last year because I think he would have gone in the first round. And usually, guys I think would have gone in the first round, they probably should just go, and he didn't. And he came back and like he didn't have a bad year or anything, but he's kind of. I think he's probably rated lower than he was a year ago for most people. Which is
I think so too. Which is funny because like he has made really substantial improvements. I think. Turk, I think defensively improved a lot this year. I mean, the bar was like really, really low last year, but he has like improved quite a bit on defense. Like is good using his quickness and like his size to like fight around screens and his length to be a bother.
He's so skinny, by the way. I think he's like 170-ish. He's really skinny.
I mean, like it's like like he is like the Bones body. I mean, he's like has a ton of similarities to Bones, honestly, but like. I mean, he doesn't have bones to burst or anything, but like, I mean, burst is not it's not a great thing for Turk. He's like super explosive in the open floor, insanely explosive in the open floor, but like in traffic and like his actual like first step isn't that great, which hurts him. And just the fact that he's so skinny, like the finishing is not super great. It's like not going to be good. And like just like the scoring within like 15-ish feet is the question, but I think he is an unbelievable shooter. First of all, like his like volume like has and like versatility in terms of different types of shots and like FAR2 indicators are ridiculous. His like the last 2 years, he is amazing pulling up from like well beyond NBA range. Like off of movement, off of a step back. He's like a really great mid-range creator as well, like or like even like long mid-range. Again, it's not as a freshman, he took 15 threes per 100 with a 57 3-point attempt rate and shot 37%.
Yeah, that's a lot of threes,
which is really special. Really special. Like again, like the finishing improved like quite a bit, like from really bad to just normal bad. And like again, like the tools I think are there to be like a guy who doesn't get hunted on defense, which is what you're asking for basically for these like shot making offensive guards. Who's like a pretty good pick and roll passer. He's good at like basic pick and roll reads. If you ask him to like read two defenders on like the weak side, he's probably going to struggle. But he's the kind of guy who's like running an empty side pick and roll or like has to read like a tagger. He can do really well like with all kinds of skips and stuff. So I just think. Like this like combo kind of like non-primary point guard, which I feel like has like kind of been like eschewed a lot, and for good reason. I think like especially like I think now with so many huge initiators, and like we're just gonna keep getting more, with the Twins and like Brandon Miller, whatever, Wemby obviously. It's like a good time to be a small non-primary guard with like real like playoff skills offensively. And I think Turk could be one of those guys, even if like, it takes some time or like he has to adjust to a new role. Cause Turk, like he definitely has shot selection kind of questions at this moment, but I don't I'm not so bothered because he was like literally his team's like whole offense, and he kind of just got to do whatever he wanted. So.
Well, and as long as he can defend too, and you talked about the defense, like if he's going to play that role, get next to a size creator, like as long as you can defend the one, you can kind of
definitely want to like make like the defense is still like a big question, like in my thoughts. But like,
I think that you have to be kind of sold on it. I think a little bit, at least a little. Guard defense is a whole other topic, but he has to be able to defend some. I think, or it's not going to work.
But no, I think he is a guy like who has pretty high variance in terms of his like outcome range. But I think the high end is like pretty valuable. And that's kind of
in the second round. I mean, that's obviously not. I mean, you want to swing on someone. I mean,
There's
kind of two different philosophies on that. It's like try to find guys who can maybe help you as your eighth man, or take swings.
Yep, it's like there's and both are good. Both are good ways to go.
You can do either one, especially in the 40s.
Yeah, we talked about the other one who I've been rising a ton on recently, also combine and just watching him more throughout the year, is Amari Bailey.
UCLA's own Amari Bailey,
who I think is really good. I didn't particularly like him much as a prospect coming out, and I think he improved markedly, like pretty rapidly at UCLA, into like a real ball handler who can pass. Like he was not a passer in high school. And he's now developed into someone who can make like advanced reads, like reading a defense, being patient, like waiting for his options to open up and using his slashing gravity to like force help defenders and make passes as well. Like really, really bursty, like great first step, really strong. That was always his thing. Like, I mean, this is probably less about him, but like, I'll always remember like him being 14 and playing like the Jalen Suggs team with Sierra, and him just like wrecking Chet at the rim on a couple of drives, like right through his chest. And I'm like, I don't know if to be more impressed by this kid or to be more worried, but
no, and he's really famous too. Like he was always, and also he's a tough one for me because of context. Like he went to UCLA and played on a team with a bunch of old guys, and in a backcourt with Tiger Campbell, who's 1,000, who I love in college, but like is a vet guy, with Jaquez. Like he was there as this incoming 5-star freshman who like had this role that was not probably the best role for him in some ways. So like I don't know if it's hard for me to evaluate him after seeing some in high school, but I never watched enough of these guys in high school to really have a huge command of that. So like I was not surprised to see him rising, but it was just like he's a tough evaluation, I feel like.
Yeah, I think like he's a guy who like you have to be the right team for. I mean, like as for most prospects, like Amari is a guy who just like really wants the ball to succeed, and I think his like high end creator outcomes are very real. I mean, that's just like the main offensive question is how does he progress as a shooter? I mean, he just like doesn't really take a lot of threes. Is like not a good free throw shooter. Like no particularly outstanding indicators, but with his amazing burst, and like strength and ability to pass. As well off of drives. I think if he can become like a passable enough shooter where you actually have to close out a little bit, he could be really dangerous as an off-ball threat. But that's definitely like not why you're getting him. I think you're drafting him as like a bench secondary creator type upside swing. And also because his defense is really good too. I think his off-ball defense is a little rough at times, which is honestly like very common for freshmen. Like exceedingly common. And I think his on-ball defense is really, really great. He's super strong, laterally quick, great footwork, can get around screens, really great recovery tools again when he gets beat or has to like turn and chase or whatever. And again, like had like got steals in college, like has tools, like can figure out the off-ball stuff hopefully. I don't know exactly where I have him. I think I'd probably be like definitely like super down with some team taking him in the late first round. That's just like that kind of upside swing. I don't know exactly like where like, but like somewhere late first, early second, like even later first could be cool, I think.
Yeah, that's the kind of talent that you can maybe falls unexpectedly, and he seems to be kind of rising again now, but pedigree's there and all that.
Yeah, who was I thinking about? Oh, Jordan Walsh. Yeah,
that was literally who I was about to ask. I swear to God, I was about to ask you about Jordan Walsh.
Oh, okay. I have two more after that I have to mention, but
feel free.
Yeah. or 3. There's so many. Dang.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the second round is it's a wide net, but Walsh was literally the first guy I had on my list, second round picks that I made the notes of, in part because like his skill set for the Hawks makes some sense because his like it's defense and it's little stuff. So I thought he was really interesting.
Yeah, we know that I love my like no offense, insane defender wings. Like, that's my favorite. That's my favorite type of guy to like way too much. I just think this ceiling for Jordan Walsh as a defender is like legit all defense. And that's why I'm willing to be more lenient with the offensive stuff. I think the offense is really bad. Like there's not really much like arguing there. I don't think like the shot is bad. Generally, like when he handles the ball, things don't go well. But I do think they're interesting handling tools. It's because he is so like fluid and his length is so impressive. Like I think you regularly see him like impressively move with the ball at that size. It's just like he doesn't really have like the handle or footwork or what to do much with it yet. And I think he's a solid passer as well when he gets the chance, but he just like can't really dribble and shoot, so he doesn't get a chance to be a passer very much. But I do think he's a good passer when he gets that chance. So I think there are conceivable ways for him to become like less than hopeless on offense. But like, his defense is ridiculous. Like it's like that movement skill in terms of like getting around everyone, like getting around all kinds of screens as a really huge guy, being able to guard like up and down. I think his strength could definitely improve, but he is a pretty strong guy already at this point. And like is a little like the technique stuff isn't perfect with like the foul happiness at times, like the swipe happiness and just like the general, technical cleanups. But I think with the movement skills and his like explosion laterally and his quickness and his length, like there's an insane ceiling there. And again, I think of him similarly to Bailey as like I would be game with a team taking him in the late first. Like I've mocked this like in the mock too for fun. Like I would love for Sacramento to take him. I think at like 27 or something. Like that would be sick. So yeah, I also just really like Jordan Walsh and I've liked him for a while.
I'm in too. I mean, the offense is really not very good right now, but in the second round, it's worth it if you think you can find something there. I mean, it's not a perfect comp, but people have thrown around Herb Jones as far as like not the same archetype necessarily, but like super defender, offensive limited player, falls to the 30s,
think about
40s.
The fact that like Herb like was like a pretty bad offensive player even as a senior, and had like some weird like slashing tools, but like like Walsh is still 18 doing this. Herb was like 22 when he got drafted.
Yeah, that is definitely notable. Who else? I know you found some more guys you want to talk about, so feel free to deliver them.
Last two for sure. I mean, both Illinois guys, Coleman Hawkins and Terrence Shannon. I think are first round picks. Shannon mostly.
Well, you think Coleman Hawkins is a first round pick? That's interesting to me.
I think he's in that same big group of guys. It's like where it's like, you might be ranked like 30 to 35, but like I'm like I would get like the Warriors taking him in the late first or whatever.
Well, they're both really interesting because like Shannon, I feel like has had a very wide split. I've seen people that have had him in like their top 20 for a while, and then you see like I think he was like in the 50s on the last ESPN update. Like there's a big split on Terrence Shannon in particular, and he's been around for a long time. He changed schools.
Yeah, they have him like in the 50s right now. They have him and Coleman back to back 53, 54.
Seems like kind of a punt ranking, but I mean, what do you like about both of them? Because they're different players, obviously, but they're coming out of Illinois, and Hawkins is kind of more of an enigma, whereas we've seen a lot of Shannon for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, Shannon's been a prospect for like a long time, a fringe guy, who because of like legit offensive improvements is much more real at this point. I mean, just basically every year his like 3-point volume, free throws have gone up, except for when he was a freshman and shot really well from the free throw line. His catch and shoot threes have gotten so much better. This year he, took 156 threes when he didn't take more than 86. Like the shooting improvements are really nice. Coupled with the fact that he's like one of the faster players in the class and has like a competent handle when it's kind of unbothered. So I think when you combine those things, there is like a definite room for like a very legit like wing, like rotation wing right away, because you don't have like, at least for me, like those shot questions aren't like an Okoro or Walsh or something. Like, okay, yeah, like this guy's been shooting pretty competently, like at a decent clip for like 2 straight seasons. So like I am pretty excited. He was always like a fun defender, very rangy. Like the team defense is awesome. His defense is like not as amazing as it was as like a freshman year, like his freshman year stuff, just because I think, increased role and stuff. But he has incredible movement skills, like really long, great like opening and flipping his hips and stuff. Just all of like the good stuff you want. He's even like, flashed a little bit of passing off of the dribble, like as like a primary-ish initiator with Illinois. I really like that the handle improvement, I think, has unlocked a lot of like good stuff for him, because he always was really fast and quick. He just couldn't dribble like at all. So I think he's like a very clean, just like team Sacramento, Indiana, like even like probably not Memphis, but like this team needs like a 7th or 8th man wing that's going to be ready in 2 years. It's like, that's your guy.
Yeah, and that if you can get that guy in that range, that's going to provide value, I think.
And you're right, and that's someone who, like, again, we said like these two different like philosophies. Like, yeah, like that's a guy I think you want at 25. Like he's going to provide you value in the second year of his rookie contract. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you about like we can do this all day in second round picks, but we have to get to the other guys too. I wanted to ask you, while I have you, do you have an opinion on Sidi Sissoko? Because I've been surprised. At one point, it seemed like he was going to be a lock first rounder, and now he's like in the late 30s, 40s on these mainstream boards, and I wonder what happened. And he's, by the way, for people who don't know, G League Ignite and super young, interesting tools guy. But do you like him? Because it seems like he might be falling, which is weird to say, but I don't know. I'm not really sure why.
Very quickly, Coleman Hawkins, giant, incredible passer.
Coleman Hawkins. We should talk about that.
Yeah, Coleman Hawkins, like enormous, incredible passer, and finally has like enough offensive aggression to make it work. He's cool, giant, smart guy. Take him
6'10" Coleman Hawkins, I think.
Yeah, he is large. Like he is a big dude. Maybe the Rockets should draft him. Reunite that old prolific prep team.
Prolific
with Jalen
prep.
Green.
What a day!
All right, so you asked about CD.
Yeah, I'm just curious because like I'm not trying to overread the mainstream stuff, but like he seems like he's fallen a lot, and I don't really understand why. I'm not even like in love with him, but it seems like that he actually might be in play in the middle of the second round now, which is shocking to me. But
yeah,
there you go.
I have always been pretty anti-CD as a prospect. I've had him mid-late second the whole time and haven't really moved off of that. I don't honestly know why he's dropping. I don't really have any idea, but I like there are people on like draft Twitter and like stuff who have him like top like in the lottery.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because it's like there's a big split there. I feel like
there's a huge split on him, and I am like very definitely at the low end of that.
On the lower end, and that's fine. I was just honestly, what do you while we're here, because what you said for a second, what do you not like? What is your skepticism of Sissoko?
I worry about how he's like going to be able to apply his skills, which is like the passing mainly. I don't really believe in the shot like very much, just given that he doesn't take a lot of threes. Like he doesn't take different kinds of threes. He's not a mid-range shooter. He's not only a free throw guy. But the more pressing issue is just how timid of a scorer he is. He's like one of those guys who's just like totally afraid to shoot. Like isn't like the quickest guy, isn't like the greatest handler, but like can win with his size and some fluidity at times, which is impressive. And like he'll like get to the rim, like fend off like a defender and just like not even look and try to pass out or do a flashy pass. I think the fact that he's a flashy passer also has people overrating his passing a little bit. He's a very good passer, especially for his size. Like really impressive, making live dribble reads off of the bounce, mostly like interior passes to his teammates and passes out is really, really, really impressive for a guy his size. Again, like how much will he get to use that skill in the league? But it's a real skill. Yeah. I think there are a lot of like flashy passes that don't need to be flashy, or like where the flash doesn't actually add anything. Like there are flashy passes that actually like matter. Like when a guy like no looks and looks off a defender, like that's like matters a lot, and it's a high level tool. But like like a look away when like on the fast break and stuff. But and also I think defensively, I have a lot of questions, mostly about just like his awareness, his like feel as a team defender, his general like instincts, his reaction times, which are all like pretty poor again, which is common for freshman aged players playing at competition. Like he has pretty solid tools, but again, like I see him again as more of like this like second round wing flyer who, like if you maybe want a guy who might be able to, be a rookie contract rotation wing with, a little backup playmaking and maybe some defense if we can work it. I think he makes sense in that range for like that kind of thing. I don't believe in. I'm quite skeptical of like just mostly the scoring, even like in games like without Scoot and stuff where he got a bigger like offensive load and scored more points. It seemed more like the same kind of stuff, like very complimentary actions.
Just to back you up there, by the way, he played 43 games for G League Ignite this year combined, averaged like almost 30 minutes a game, and took 9 shots a game as a perimeter player, and that's a very low number for someone who played as much as he did. Like he was not aggressive, to your point, as a scorer.
It's
secondary for sure, especially because like you said, he played without Scoot a bunch, and that you in theory would have raised the numbers as far as
right. I mean, he definitely did play better as a scorer in those games, but still. And the thing as well is like I always like to say is like most NBA role players were not role players in college, or that role. I think we can definitely argue like G League Ignite is different and like there's more like NBA centric immediately, which is true I think. So it's not like exact parallels, but like Torrey Craig, PJ Tucker, like Dorian Finney-Smith, like all these guys were like on ball high usage creators in college. Like Robert Covington, was like a huge usage guy. So like I tend to be wary of these guys who are like role guys at lower levels and just like don't have that ability to scale up really, because it just isn't like how most players get there,
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I have one more guy to ask you about in this range, then we'll go to the top. And I'm not even sure he's in this range. This is a weird situation. Can you explain the Bobby Clintman thing to me? Because it seems like he might have a first round guarantee or something, and yet
I have heard that he might. Yeah, I've heard people say that he might have that he has a first round promise.
Because he pulled out at everything basically. For people who don't know, like he's from Wake Forest. He was not a pro. I mean, people like know who he is, but he's not a famous player. He was not a hugely productive player in college on a okay Wake team. And then suddenly it was like, by the way, he's skipping everything, and he might be the guy who goes in the 20s. Beyond, because we don't know, but is that a worthy, like, is he an interesting player to you?
I think so, but not like that. I mean, I think this is like pre-drafting gone too far. Bit.
It's just like, it's so weird. I mean, again, I've seen it. I saw him play multiple times this year, just from a college basketball point of view. Like, I get that he has tools. He's 6'10", and he's skilled, but like I never thought, okay, that guy's going to be a first round pick this year. Like that never occurred to me.
Yeah, I think what you're really hoping for is just like betting on like a mover as well, like a guy who is like really, really like athletically gifted, like moving laterally as a big guy, like flipping his hips really quickly, rotating for blocks and such as well. I'm not a huge like again, like the offense to me, like I just don't really know what happens at that point. And I think there was like actually like I think our buddy Ignacio, like the international scouting goat, posted some like clips or something of him like a long time ago at like some like U18 where he was more of like a passer. So maybe there's something there. I don't have a super concrete take on Clintman. I haven't like he's one of the guys I still need to like watch, like assuming he does stay in, like which is he's going to.
It seems like he's going to, yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch more of him to have more.
I do too. I don't mean to put you on the spot either. It's just one of those things.
I like being put on the spot.
It was just such a weird situation where like you'd see him on boards in like the 50s or 60s or whatever.
Right,
and it's like, okay, makes sense. He has tools. He has size. And then it was like almost overnight, it seemed like, oh, by the way, I had to mock him in the 20s because I was like, people keep saying he's guaranteed. I don't know where it's going to be. And sometimes these things are not actually true. This has happened before, where like Tybal's the famous one that was like very obviously true and got out for a very long time in the last 5-6 years. But like occasionally these will be floated out and they're not true and they kind of go away. So I don't know, but we'll see.
I always think about Chandler Hutchinson.
That was one. At least he had he was super productive and stuff. Like he was going to go in the first round anyway. He felt like
the worst kept promise of all time was Isaiah Joe to the Sixers.
Oh yeah,
Literally
for old school Hawks people, old school Hawks people, and this you'd have been very young. The Hawks reportedly promised Sheldon Williams at 5 in a long time ago, and took him when he probably wasn't going to go anywhere in the lottery if they didn't take him at 5. So sore subject for me, but alas. All right, that will do it for this edition of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I encourage you to subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey app, YouTube, all those fun places. Ratings and reviews encouraged. Please follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me on Twitter at BT Rowland. I'll be back with Ben and myself talking much more about the draft later on this week, and we'll see you all next time.